Okay, hi Dylan. This is chapter 7 and 8. I'm going to do this first video with these two, and then I'm going to do another video talking about dividing fraction word problems. Because dividing fractions isn't like multiplying fractions. When you multiply a fraction, you can switch the factors and still get the same product. When you're dividing fractions, you have to really pay close attention to which one is the divisor and which one is the dividend, or your answer is going to be the opposite. So for example, let me do it right here. So for example, if you have 1/2 times 1/3, that's going to get you 1/6. Now I can flip these factors and do 1/3 times 1/2 and get 1/6. Just like in multiplication, it's called the commutative property. If you just had 2 times 3, you can do 6, and then 3 times 2 still gets you 6. Now these two equations mean something a little different, but you still get the same product. So in division, if I use the same fact family, 6 divided by 2 equals 3, and 6 divided by 3 equals 2. But I can't flip these around and get the same answer. So for example, I can't do 2 divided by 6. That does not equal 3. It actually equals 1/3. So you'll get the opposite answer. So that's why you have to pay really close attention to which one is the divisor and which one is the dividend. But before we talk more about that, let's talk about fractions as division and then dividing fractions. So a fraction is another way to show division. You can interpret a fraction as division of a numerator by the denominator. The fraction 3/4 is the same as 3 divided by 4. So 3/4 equals 3 divided by 4. So this fraction sign is just a fancy way of writing a division sign. And I know you know that when we have taken improper fractions and turned them into mixed numbers. For example, if you have 15/4, you know to find the simplified version of 15/4, you divide the numerator by the denominator. So it's 15 divided by 4, which would be equivalent to 3 and 3/4, right? So that's the same thing when you just have a regular fraction with the numerator that's smaller than the dividend. It's still the numerator is smaller than the denominator. It's still the same thing, 3 divided by 4. Now, you're going to end up with a decimal here. When you actually do this work, you're going to get 75/100ths, which is actually equivalent, written as a fraction, to 3/4. You can use this relationship to divide a whole number into equal groups. So 5 friends want to split 3 pizzas evenly. How should they divide the pizzas so that each gets the same number of slices? So my dividend is the 3. We're taking the 3 pizzas and we're dividing it amongst 5 people. So 3 is the dividend, 5 is the divisor. You can use fraction strips to model 3 divided by 5. Show 3 whole fraction strips, then show each whole divided into fifths. Divide the fifths into 5 equal groups. So here's my 3 pizzas, and each pizza I'm dividing into fifths, right? So I've got 5/5 here, 5/5 here, 5/5 here. And then I'm going to take that and break it up into 5 groups. So basically I have 15, divide that by 5, and I have 3. So each person is going to get 3/5 of a pizza. The model shows that 3 divided by 5 is equal to 3/5. Use multiplication to check. 3 divided by 5 equals 3/5. Multiply the divisor by the quotient. So this is the divisor, this is the quotient. 5 times 3/5, 3/5 times 5 equals 15/5, which equals 3, which is our dividend. Each friend gets 3/5 of a pizza. How would you use fraction strips to show 3 divided by 4? So we've got our 3 wholes, right? And then right underneath that, we're going to take each one of those wholes and we're going to break it up into fourths. So there's my fourths, right? So this would then, you have 3 divided into 4 groups. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, oops. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is 3 out of 4. This is 3 out of 4. This is 3 out of 4. And this is 3 out of 4. So it's 3 divided by 4 is equivalent to 3/4. 2 campers want to split 3 gallons of water evenly. How many gallons of water will each camper get? Use the fraction strips to show 3 divided by 2. So this is 3 divided by 2. So this is going to be a mixed number. Use 3 whole strips, 1, 2, 3, then show each whole divided into halves. Divide the halves into 2 equal parts. So here we go. Here's our, each whole is divided into 2 equal parts, and then I group them into 2 groups. So if I group this is total of 6, divided by 2 equals 3. So there's my 3 halves. So each person's going to get 3 halves. And then you can multiply to check this. 3 halves times 2, so I'm multiplying the quotient times the divisor, equals 6 halves. Oh, wait, no, sorry. 3 halves times 2 over 1, which equals 3 times 2 over 2 times 1. And then that equals 6 halves, which equals 3. The answer is an improper fraction, so write it as a mixed number. So 3 divided by 2 is 1 and 1/2. So each person gets 1 and 1/2 gallons of water. How can you write a fraction as a division problem? The numerator is divided by the denominator. So if you have A over B, it would, oops. If you have A over B, it would be A divided by B. Write a division problem that each model represents. So we have 2 divided by how many? 2 divided by 4, because we're taking 1 whole and putting it into fourths. So we have 2 wholes, and we're going to divide that by fourths. So it's 2 divided by 4, right? So 2 divided by 4, which equals 1/2. Then we have 3 divided by, this is broken up into 6, which is also 3, 6, which is equivalent to 1/2. 7 campers divide 8 gallons of water evenly. How many gallons of water does each camper receive? So we've got, this is our dividend. This is what's being divided. We're dividing the 8 gallons. So 8 divided by 7, a way to write that is 8/7, which equals 1 and 1/7 gallons. All right. So what I want you to do on your own is take these fractions and write them as division problems. It's pretty simple. Remember, you're just taking the numerator and dividing it by the denominator. So it's 7 divided by 10 and so on. And then you're changing these division problems into fractions. So 5 divided by 6. So remember, this is the dividend. This is being divided. This is the divisor. It's doing the dividing. So the dividend is the numerator, and the divisor is the 5 divided by 6 is the denominator. So this is in the simplest form, so it can stay the same. So remember, the dividend, 8 is being divided by 12, the divisor. So the dividend is the numerator, and the divisor is the denominator. And this is not in simplest form. They can both be divided by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 12 divided by 4 is 3, and so on. So go ahead and do the rest of those on your own, and let's see how we actually divide fractions. So that was taking a division problem and relating it to a fraction, or vice versa, a fraction and relating it to a division problem. Now we're going to actually take fractions and do the division. I think with all of these, it's going to be either a fraction divided by a whole number or a whole number divided by a fraction. You can use fraction strips to divide a whole number by a unit fraction. A unit fraction is a fraction with the numerator of 1. So for example, 1/4 is a unit fraction because it's 1 of the whole, right? So if I have 3/4 and I wanted to break those up into unit fractions, it would be 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. These are unit fractions. Another way to divide a whole number by a unit fraction is to multiply the whole number times the reciprocal of the fraction. Reciprocals are two numbers that have a product of 1. To find the reciprocal, you switch the numerator and the denominator of the divisor. The reciprocal of 4/1 or 1/4 is, the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4/1, since 1/4 times 4/1 equals 1. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a second as we walk through these. A road crew paves 1/4 mile of road each day. How many days will it take the crew to pave 2 miles? So you show the problem where we need 2 miles as our dividend, and we need to divide that by 1/4. We want to see how many times 1/4 can fit into 2. So the fraction strips, you show 2 whole fractions, and then we're going to break those up into fourths, right? And how many 1/4 are in 2 wholes? Well, there's 4/4 here and another 4/4 here, so that's 8/4. So 2 divided by 1/4 equals 8. That's how many days it will take them to do 2 miles, because they're only doing 1/4 of a mile each day. So I want to find out how many days it's going to take them to get 2 miles. Another way of doing it is using the reciprocal, okay? So if we have 2 divided by 1/4, we leave 2 the same. You leave the dividend the same, and you find the reciprocal of the divisor. So this 2 divided by 1/4, another way of saying that is 2 times 4/1, or the reciprocal of 1/4, which is another way of just saying 2 times 4, which equals 8. So then here is this green box down here. How would you find 7 divided by 1/8? So I'm trying to find out how many 1/8 will fit into 7 wholes. So you could draw out your picture. Now that would take forever, because if I drew a model and had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes. And then I needed to break this into eighths down here and count how many eighths were in each one. That would take forever. So in this one, there would be 8 1/8, 8 1/8, 8 1/8, 8 1/8, 8 1/8, 8 1/8, 8 1/8. And then you could add them all up to find out how many 1/8 are in 7 holes. An easier way of doing that is doing the reciprocal, right? So we have 7 divided by 1/8. Another way of writing that. Now remember, your dividend stays the same. We change the division sign into a multiplication sign, and then we use the reciprocal of the dividend. So another way of saying this is just 7 times 8, which equals 56. So there's 56 1/8 in 7 wholes. All right, so now we've got the same thing, a whole number divided by a fraction, a unit fraction. Find the reciprocal of 1/8. The reciprocal of 1/8 is 8/1, or just 8. Multiply the whole number times the reciprocal, so 3 divided by 1/8. Another way of saying that is 3 times 8, which equals 24. So 3 divided by 1/8 equals 24. So you're thinking, how many 1/8 can fit into 3 wholes? 24 1/8 can fit in there. Now you might be saying, like, that is, 24 is a larger number. How can the quotient be a larger number than my dividend and my divisor? Well, the actual value of the number is not 24, it's the quantity. So it's how many 1/8 can go into 3. So now this time we're going to take a fraction and divide it by a whole number. So we're trying to see, if I have 1/8 and I want to split that into 6, what would be my final fraction? So remember, the dividend stays the same. So you're just going to find the reciprocal of 6 of the divisor. So the reciprocal of 6/1 is 1/6. So then you multiply the fraction times the reciprocal. So remember, the dividend stays the same. So 1/8 stays the same, and I turn the division sign into a multiplication sign. The reciprocal of 6 is 1/6. Then I just multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1, and 8 times 6 is 48. So the answer is 48, because what you're doing is you're taking 1/8 and you're breaking it up into 6 pieces. So if you took 1/8 and you broke it up into 6 pieces, what would you have left? 1/48. Okay, how can you divide a whole number by a fraction? So a whole number by a fraction, for example, 2 divided by 1/2. So what do? Leave the dividend the same and multiply by the reciprocal. I want to make sure I spell reciprocal correctly. Multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So 2 divided by 1/2 would be 2 times 2/1, or just 2, which equals 4. So you're saying, how many times can 1/2 fit into 2? 4 times. How can you divide a fraction by a whole number? Same idea, but the fraction stays the same, and the whole number you change the whole number into a fraction, to be honest, the reciprocal of the whole number. So for example, if we have 1/2 divided by 2. I'm trying to see if I have 1/2 and I split it into 2 pieces, what do I have? So leave the dividend the same and multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So what that means, if I have 1/2 divided by 2, that's really 1/2 times the reciprocal of 2, which is 1/2, and your answer is 1/4. So if I have 1/2 of a pizza and you and I split it, how much of the whole pizza do we get to eat? 1/4. All right, so you're gonna write the reciprocals of these numbers. If they're a whole number, you think, how do I write a whole number as a fraction? I put it over 1, and then I flip the numerator and the denominator, so the reciprocal is that number under 1. So 7, the reciprocal of 7 is 1/7. The reciprocal of 1/3, just flip the numerator and the denominator, and that's 3/1, and so on, okay? Use reciprocals to divide. So if I have 2 divided by 1/2, really what I'm doing is 2 times 5/1, and another way of saying 5/1 is just 5. So I multiply and get 10. Same thing with this one down here. So remember, the dividend will stay the same, and you're finding the reciprocal of the divisor. So 1/5 divided by 4 is really 1/5 times 1/4, and then you just multiply across and get 1/20. Okay, so go ahead and do the rest that we did not do together. Definitely do this, well, hopefully you've already done this, before you look at the word problems, because you need to know how to actually do the work before you actually start figuring out which one is the divisor, which one is the dividend, and you'll get a little practice on these. All right.